Hello friends, I am Mr. Kabe from Kabe City Center, and today we'll be learning HTML elements. So let's dig in.
And it goes a little something like
You all summer and after I'll keep you all summer and after I'll keep you all summer and after I'll keep you all summer and after
And write a simple
you all summer
section.
and I'll keep
HTML elements are usually consist of a start tag and an end tag with the content inserted in between. So the syntax for defining an HTML element usually contain two tags. The first tag is a start tag, and the last tag is the second tag is a last tag. For example, if we want to define a paragraph, we use a p tag starting with P and also ending with P. But before P, we put a forward slash marking the end of that tag. HTML elements can be nested. It means that all HTML elements should be nested to make the content look clear. For instance, we are having HTML as a root tag, but in between those HTML we have head tag, we have title tag, and body tag. So those body and title are nested element within the HTML element. For instance, we have a p tag, p defining a paragraph tag, but in between the p tags we have b, this b defining a body text tag. So you can find that the green b is between or is nested inside the p tag. Let's see some common HTML element. Below is a list of common HTML elements. We have heading 1 to heading 6, defining heading, or h1 to h6, defining heading 1 to heading 6. We have p for a paragraph. So if we want to put a paragraph, you should use p tag. Also, we have HTML as a root element, as we learned on the previous lesson, tutorial 1. We have head tag defining an invisible content of a web page, that are metadata of your web content. We have body tag defining a section that contains visible content of your area, of your page. Also, we have I for italic, and we have em for emphasize. Note that an I and an em are used interchangeably, so you can opt either I or em for defining an italic text. We have B for bolded text. We have strong for a strong text. However, B and strong are used interchangeably to define a bolded text, so you can opt either to use B or strong if you want to define a bolded text. We have title for defining a title for your web page. We have div and span. This div and span are used interchangeably for defining a specified area or a section within the page content. This can be clearly seen when using CSS. If we are not using CSS, you won't see the difference between div and span, and even the demarcation between those division and other divisions, or span and other spans. So for clear annotation, you should use CSS, and we'll be covering on the subsequent. A hyperlink, or a defining URL or link of text. The link are just a direction to another web page or another section within the same content or web content that defines specific content. We have img. Img is a tag that define or is used to include an image file into the body content. We have table. Table element is used to insert a table into a web page. If you want to insert a table, it is simple to use table tag. We have tr for a table row. As we all know that a table contains columns and rows. So in HTML, we define rows using tr, whereas we define column using th or td. So this is a table data, whereas th is a table header, and we will be covering those in actual coding section. UArrow defining an ordered list, whereas we have OArrow for ordered list. These are list, just normal list, and an individual list item is defined by using arrow I element. We have small. Small element is used to define a small text in web content. So you can find that we have a general syntax for defining our font size. Let's say we have defined a font size to be 12, but if you use small, you can find that a small a text that belongs in between small tags should look smaller than the actual defined font size of the web content. We have sub for a superscript text, and we have sub for a subscript text. So those elements are used interchangeably. You can use this sup for a superscript text, whereas you can use sub for subscript text. We have style. Style is an element for defining cascading style sheet, and we'll be learning such particular element when we will be covering CSS section or the subsequent sessions. We have text area. A text area is an element used in HTML forms to define an input that carries a large text content, usually more than 500 characters. So this is a form element. It's not just a normal element that we can use in a web page. We use this when we want to define somewhere on a web page that we want to put a form. An input element also defines a HTML form input that we want to put either text or number, etc. We have region to define a region area on a HTML form. We have select, an element used in HTML form to define a drop-down selection box, and within the selection box we have individual options that we can opt from, either option 1, option 2, option 3, etc. to option n, where n marking the last option. So these options belongs to select the selection box, but you can note that in some applications you can find there are groups of options. Let's say we have groups of animals, let's say we have cow, goat, pigs. Those are groups of animal. Also we can have groups of fruit, let's say apple, orange, purple, pineapple. Those are groups of fruits. So to define those sort of groups or different groups, we use option group. So an option group is just the group of content or options with similar features, if not similar names, but with similar features or characters. Now, apart from common HTML element, we have empty HTML element. Those elements contain nothing inside. So you can find that they have no any attribute, whereas those elements that we have covered, they contain attributes. So this list, we define some commonly empty element. For instance, if we want to place a break or line break inside somewhere on your page, you can use br as an empty element. If you want to put a horizontal line, you can use hr. So those are some commonly empty element, and we'll see their effects when we'll be doing actual code. Note that do not jump at the coding point at this point. You need to cover some concepts, learn some backgrounds, and then when you will be covering code, or when you will be doing actual code, you'll be able to grasp some content, and you'll be able to know that where are we moving from and where are we going, and which are we typing and which are we running. So it's better to start from the background so that we can grasp some concept when we will be doing code and we'll be going together. Note some HTML elements such as a and image will be discussed further on the next tutorial, usually tutorial 3, when we'll be covering HTML attributes. I recommend some text editor so that you'll be writing your code and running those code on browsers. Download link is on a description section, so scroll on the video descriptions to find download link so that you can find those software. Now let's do some code to implement those elements. Okay, now open this folder, HTML folder, and you will find a new elements file. So double click this to open into web browser. By default you will open on my default browser, which is Mozilla Firefox. It is currently blank because we haven't written actual content in the body section. We have written just a tutorial 2 on the heading section, on the title. Now let's begin by adding some text here so that we can understand those elements that we have been running on the previous slides. We start by defining heading 1. Heading 1, this is heading 1. Control S for saving, and then refresh your browser by either pressing F5 or clicking here. You'll find that this is heading 1. So that is the first element. Next, let us write paragraph by defining P. This is a paragraph. Also, this, let us bold some text. This is, oh no, B. Let it be. This is a bolded text. Control S for saving. Refresh on the browser. You will see this one. This is a paragraph. This is a bolded text. Now, let us write a strong text. Strong. This is a strong text. Control S. Refresh your browser. You will find that, as I've said, strong and a B are used interchangeably, as both are used to bold a text. So there's no difference between a bolded text and a strong text. You can find that they are similar. Now let us apply some line break in between the bolded text and the strong text. We define line break by putting BR at the end of the bold tag. So put BR either here or just click enter and put BR. Control S. You'll find the effect. If you refresh the browser, you'll find that body text and strong text appears in different lines. Now let's also apply BR here so that we can jump on next line. Then define I for an italicized text. This one here. This is an italicized or italic text. Also BR for a new line, then click write em. This is an emphasized text. Emphasized text. Control S for saving, or click here, then file save. So refresh the browser to find. You can see that an italic and an emphasized text look similar. So you can opt either to use I or EM. Another element, let's say we want to put BR here, and then now let's look some application of another empty element, a horizontal line. Control S, then refresh the browser, you will find a new line here. This is a horizontal line defined by HR empty element. So that is how we'd find those elements. As we'll be learning on the next subsequent tutorial, we'll be learning much on how to define some syntax or how to define some CSS so that you can see the actual web content looking. Suppose that we want to press some comment. We know that good programming concept or good programming practice goes with comment. A comment in HTML language is written in this way: less than, exclamation mark, double dash, the first dash and the second dash, then your comment here. This is a comment. Then dash and dash, then greater than. So this text won't be displayed on the browser. Control S, then refresh the browser. Nothing will be displayed. So that is how we write comment. Now let's write some another comment here. You can also, if you are using this Sublime Text Editor, you can there is a shortcut to use when you're writing comment. Press Control, then /. You will find automatically the comment is inserted. Now I'm writing this as a list. This is a list section, and an ordered list section. Let's define an ordered list here by using UArrow. So this is list 1, also arrow I for individual list 2, again arrow I for individual list 3. Control S for saving. Refresh your browser, you will find the list is displayed. So this is how we write list. So we have list 1, list 2, list 3. That is an ordered list. Now let us write some other list. Copy this one, to copy, and here Control. This is ordered list. Now we have OL for ordered list, LI for individual list 1, or let us list A, then LI list B, LI for individual list C. Control S, then open your browser to refresh. You will find this one. So we have list A, list B, list C. Ordered list are just list that contain number 1, number 2, number 3. An ordered list contain burette 1, burette 2, burette 3. So that's how we write list. Now let us end up here, and we'll be continuing on the next tutorial when we'll be learning HTML attribute. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for new updates. Once I upload new video, you'll be notified that there's a new video tutorial for you to learn. Subscribe, like, and share my channel so that others also can view or can have access to my channel and to my content. Thank you for watching.